What's going on YouTube? So one sedan you're sure to see every time you hit the road is the well-known Nissan Altima.
And Nissan just heavily updated this model last year with design and technology enhancements. And today we're with the latest 2024 model.
So does this affordable and spacious sedan best the competition? Let's go ahead and find out. So first things first, let's talk about what's under the hood of this 2024 Altima. It is going to be the same as last year, so we have a 2.5 liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder engine. This is making 188 horsepower, 180 pound-feet of torque. You can also get that VC turbo engine, which we'll talk about later in the test drive.
All models have a CVT, and as far as your fuel economy is concerned, it's going to be rated at 31 miles a gallon combined for the model that we have with us today. You also have the option of all-wheel drive, but do keep in mind there are no hybrid offerings for this Altima, unlike some of its main rivals like Camry and Accord.
But of course, later on, we are going to go out for an extensive test drive as always. We're going to do things like get our signature sound level reading so that we can compare on CarConfections.com to rivals like the Accord and Camry. But first, let's close up the hood and take a look at the exterior design, which was extensively refreshed last year. So like I was saying, Nissan made some big updates to the design last year, and it really made a big difference. This is a very aggressive look, and most of that is because of this enhanced V-Motion grille. As you can see, much larger than it used to be. It goes all the way down here to the bottom. We have the SR trim level, so that's going to be the sport grade. That gives you even more of an aggressive look with the smoked chrome over here, which would normally just be regular chrome. Let's talk about the headlights as well. Full LED headlights are standard equipment on all models. As you can see, we have a projector low beam, reflector high beam, then we have the LED turn signal indicator and daytime running light all integrated right here. No fog lights are on board. Now, as we move to the rear design, it does have that same kind of sporty flair as the rest of the vehicle.
And let's go ahead and look at the taillights and see if all the elements are LED. That's something we like to do in all of our Car Confections reviews. So we do have an incandescent brake light, incandescent reverse light, and incandescent turn signal. So none of the elements are LED. That's actually across the board. So even on the higher end models, you're not going to get LED taillights. I'm a little disappointed by that. I wish Nissan would go ahead and update that. But dropping down to the lower area, this is all going to be finished in a nice sporty look here for the SR. You're going to get dual exposed exhaust outlets on SR and SL trim levels.
Now, as far as your wheels are concerned, you do start out with 16-inch alloys. Technically, the most popular trim, though, is this SR, and this one comes with very stylish 19-inch alloy wheels. I love the way this looks. Nice contrast finish, even has SR inside of the wheel itself, and they really pop against this gray sky paint color. It's really a beautiful new color from the Nissan brand. Now up here at the top, we do have the black finish for our mirrors. Blind spot monitoring will be standard on every Altima. Heating starts on the SL trim level.
And here at the side of the Altima, you're coming in at an overall length of 192.9 inches, which is a good length for the segment. Also, I do really like that we have like the floating roof detail right here. It does give it a nice sporty look here at the side. Now, we've all seen the big Altima Energy meme, so let's go ahead and talk about the safety systems for the Altima, because you might be needing them. Now, as far as that's concerned, you're going to have 2 out of your 4 active safety features as standard equipment on this Altima. Additionally, Nissan's throwing in rear auto braking as standard equipment on all of the models, which is very nice. If you want adaptive cruise control and lane keeping assist, those are available, but it's going to be on your higher end models. But guys, that wraps up the exterior design of this Altima, and if you're new here, we're brothers, and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We may be young, but we love cars.
And we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family. Let's learn a lot, have some fun with all the latest cars.
Now let's move on to the interior. First, take a quick look at the key fob. This is your typical Nissan key fob, but also typical to the Nissan brand is that you have standard intelligent entry. You also have remote start as well. Getting inside is going to be very easy because you're just going to press this button and that's going to unlock the door. One thing I do want to talk about though is that for 2024, the Nissan telecommunications system, so basically that app that allows you remote control of your vehicle. The trial has been extended from 6 months to 3 years before you'd ever have to pay for that, so that's nice. Now, take a look inside the interior. Like we've been mentioning throughout, this was refreshed last year, so the same changes are going to be present for this 2024 example. And let's talk about interior materials and color choices. So you're going to have cloth seats, of course, on that base model, but once you get to the SR trim level, that's going to give you this cloth and leatherette combination seat. We have the SR Premium, so that's actually going to substitute in full leatherette seat, and this is a surprisingly attractive seat, guys. As you can see, we have a lot of different perforations, two-tone color options, different designs down here on the bolsters, and they are extremely comfortable as well. Now, as far as the seats themselves, they are going to be 8-way power adjusting, and we do have 2-way lumbar support. But let's go ahead and climb inside. And by the way, memory seats are not available. Now, let's look at the rest of the cabin materials. Over here on the armrest, we have a nice leatherette material. Again, that double color stitching through there. Leatherette in the center, soft touch plastic along the top. Now, as we move to the upper dashboard, above the gauges is going to be finished in the leatherette. All the rest of it will be a soft touch plastic. SR trims get this faux carbon fiber trim. You can also get a faux wood trim on the upper tier models. And then over here, again, we have a nice leatherette padding along the console for our knee to rest against. Our push button start is going to be located right here. Now I've moved into a first-person perspective to give you guys a closer look at some of the details. First up, we have our gauge cluster. This is basically your typical Nissan affair. You have the 7-inch multifunction display right there in the middle. You can cycle between all that information. No head-up display is going to be offered. And as we pull back to the steering wheel, you have this nice flat bottom design. It is going to be leather wrapped. Manual tilt and telescoping, and you can get steering wheel heating if you choose the top-end SL. But midsize sedans are designed for family duty, so you're probably wondering, Drew, how many donuts can fit inside the center console? Well, we brought the donuts to test it out. We have a full dozen, and the Altima fit 10 of them, so that's a pretty good result for a midsize sedan. We do have our 2 cup holders up there. You have a wireless phone charging pad up in the front since we opted for the SR Premium package, and then you got your traditional USB connections in front of that. As I pull back to the shifter, this is a traditional style unit, of course. Pull back for drive. You do have paddle shifters on the steering wheel if you want to shift through some simulated gear changes. And then when you go into reverse, this is what your standard backup camera is going to look like. As you can see, you do have active trajectory on board. I also like that we have parking sensors for the back, even here on the SR trim level, and you can get Nissan's Around View 360 camera on your upper end models. Also on your upper end models, or any model with the available all-wheel drive system, you will have an electronic parking brake. Now as I move up here to our climate controls, you're going to notice that these are actually manual climate controls. That's what's standard on the Altima on your lower end and mid-level trim levels. Of course, you can get a dual zone automatic setup on your upper end models. One thing I do like is that since we have the premium package, we do have the 2-stage heated seats, And let's move up here to our volume knob and take a listen to the standard 6-speaker sound system. Overall sound quality is perfectly adequate for this kind of vehicle, and especially at this price point is pretty good. If you want something more though, you can get the SL, and that's going to give you a 9-speaker Bose sound system. Alright, now let's get into one of the most impressive features about the Altima's interior, and that's going to be this display and infotainment system. Interestingly enough, as of the filming of this video, the Altima here has the most advanced infotainment system in any Nissan or Infiniti product. This is the latest generation. It's going to give you some new features versus the old model. What you're looking at right now is one of those new features, the fact that we have wireless Android Auto in addition to wireless Apple CarPlay. That was limited on many of their other products in the lineup, including the popular Rogue. Now, if we go to the actual infotainment system itself, you'll see that, again, you have the new software, cool widgets and animations. It's all very responsive, good graphics as well on board, and the display itself is going to be quite large. This is 12.3 inches, and it's standard on SL, optional on SV and SR. Otherwise, you'll have a little bit smaller 8-inch display. Lastly, for the front of the cabin, the SR with premium package includes this standard size sunroof.
And let's check out the rear seats of the Altima. We're coming in at 35 inches of rear legroom, 37 inches of headroom. As far as how that compares to the competition, that's going to be quite a bit smaller than Honda Accord, Toyota Camry, those main rivals. But I did bring my bendy ruler because sometimes those measures are a little bit off. And we're sitting at about 7.5 inches of knee space. I'm 5'9" for reference. The seat is adjusted to Drew, who's 5'8". And my feet can slide up underneath the seat. So it's not going to be like super small by any stretch of the imagination, just not quite as big. Now here in the middle, we're missing vents unless you go for the SL trim level. And then down below that, we have 2 USB ports. These are standard on every single Altima model. If we fold down the center armrest, we do have 2 cup holders inside. No heated rear seats are offered. And then as far as the door trim, we're going to have a different one from the front. So this is all going to be hard touch plastic, which is not really unexpected for the segment. We do have a leatherette armrest portion and center area. And then we do have some bottle storage in the very bottom. And let's check out the Altima's trunk. Let's open her up. There is a button under the lid to do so. And then once you see inside of here, it's 15.4 cubic feet of cargo capacity. That's less than the Honda Accord, but slightly beats out the Toyota Camry if you're comparing it to those rivals. I did bring my tape measure because we do like to measure things, even if it's just a sedan here at Car Confections, to see how long the trunk is. We're sitting at about 46 inches of length. And as far as the opening, we're sitting at about 36 inches wide. Now, as far as other things to mention, we do have 60/40 split folding seat backs. And then if we lift up the cargo floor, watch out, this thing is sharp. Last year it cut my hand and I remember it still. Underneath here, we do have a spare tire. So just be careful when you're accessing that spare tire. And guys, we're behind the wheel of the 24 Altima, and in this test drive we're going to be talking about a lot of different things, as you can see on the screen right now, but we will be starting out with a hard acceleration. So let's go ahead and get into that.
Alright, so there's an acceleration up to close to 60 miles an hour. We're a little bit spoiled by the red light coming up here, but it just gives you a little taste of the overall performance. The Altima really is pretty much in line with most of the competition in this segment. We have that 2.5 liter 4-cylinder engine that we mentioned earlier, 188 horsepower, 180 pound-feet of torque, again, kind of right in the heart of the segment, and overall acceleration is perfectly fine.
Yeah. I mean, acceleration isn't going to like knock your socks off, but I honestly feel like it feels a little bit more torquey than some of the other rivals do in their base engine setups.
And of course, the other element of the powertrain, which we can go ahead and talk about right now, is the fact that we have a continuously variable transmission. You may not have even noticed it at first because Nissan does a pretty aggressive shift simulation these days. The latest version of their CVT is a lot different than what it used to be, say 5 years ago. The shift simulation feels very realistic because you do actually have that change in torque, power, and all that sound, of course. And overall, it's really responsive. You don't really feel like you're waiting on that like rubber bandy feel like you used to back in the old days.
And getting up to speed here, I do want to talk about this Altima's ride quality because I think this is actually a really strong element for the Altima. The ride quality, even on this SR with the largest wheels you can get on any Altima, is still very good. When you hit a bump, it does a great job of absorbing that and really making sure there's not a lot of intrusion into the cabin. And let me tell you, these seats, I seriously nominate these as the best seats in the segment. It is so flippin' comfortable. Like, every time I sit in it, I'm just like, oh wow, this is nice.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that goes on in the auto industry that's just like marketing, right? You just say things and it doesn't really mean anything. Zero gravity seats actually mean something to me. I mean, they really go above and beyond on comfort.
Yeah. And, you know, while we're cruising at 55 miles an hour, it is also time for us to get our signature sound level reading here in the Altima SR. See how it compares this year. 54.9 is our official Car Confections sound level reading, going 55 miles an hour. Thanks for holding in that cough.
I was repressing it.
What I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to go to carconfections.com, because we've tested out a lot of these mid-size sedans, and we've actually gone through and posted all of our sound level readings on our website. And you can see how this Altima compares to some of those big rivals like the Honda Accord and the Camry, like what we've been talking about this entire review. And as far as how that ranks among its rivals, that does place it in the top 5 midsize sedans in the entire class, which is certainly very impressive. And before we get any further along, I do want to mention that we do have that VC turbo option that is only on the SR trim level, so do keep that in mind. It's kind of like a trim level thing. It's SR VC turbo. You get pretty much the fully loaded feature-wise, as well as that upgraded engine that's making 248 horsepower, 273 pound-feet of torque, so quite a bit of a leap forward in terms of power. And really in this segment, it's becoming increasingly rare to have an upgraded engine option, besides for a hybrid maybe. It's worth noting there is no hybrid on the Altima. And as far as your fuel economy, though, you're not going to pay too much of a penalty over a hybrid, because this gets really, really good fuel economy, guys. It's rated at 32 miles a gallon combined for this standard 2.5 model with front-wheel drive. If you choose all-wheel drive, that does drop down to 30 miles a gallon combined, and then of course the VC turbo is the lowest at 29 mpg combined. But that also brings me to an important point, is that you can get all-wheel drive with this Altima, which is something that something like a Honda Accord does not have as an option. Alright, and let's get into one of our other Car Confections elements, the Slam Dunk and Airball. We're in Kentucky, so Drew will kick us off with the Slam Dunk.
The Slam Dunk really, I think, is the SR trim level. This is what they sell the majority of, and it's very easy to see why. It's very value-packed. The price is super affordable by today's standards, let's be honest. Under $30,000 starting price is fantastic. And you really get a lot of just excellent styling. It looks very expensive, even if it's not.
Yeah, and then as far as the Airball is concerned, for the most part, you do get a lot of value for the money, but there are some weird equipment things that you're missing. The automatic climate control is that's something that I would certainly miss, especially at this price point of the model that we're in today. And stuff like electronic parking brake being missing and no brake hold, that's stuff that people will notice that is certainly gone on this model. And last but not least, let's talk about the warranty. 3-year 36,000 mile basic, 5-year 60,000 mile powertrain. Nissan does not do complimentary maintenance. And let's talk prices for 2024. Now, this is going to be an area that does change this model year. It's about $400 more expensive than last year. So not much of a price increase. That's about the price of a loaf of bread nowadays. Now, as far as this model right here, this is probably the most popular configuration. There's a ton of these on the dealer lots. $27,930 for the SR. When we add all of the options, including the premium package, we're sitting at $33,115 as tested today. And then you do top out at the SR VC Turbo trim, which is a little over $35,000 for 2024. And guys, that wraps up our in-depth review of the 2024 Nissan Altima. If you enjoyed watching this video or found it helpful in your purchasing decisions, we would really appreciate it if you click that subscribe button down below. By subscribing, you're going to get just a few notifications on some of our most recent content, and I promise you won't want to miss out because we're covering a lot of really cool cars on this channel that you won't want to miss out on. Now, if you're already a part of our Car Confections family, we really appreciate your continued support. And if you haven't had the chance to go follow us on TikTok and Instagram, we would really appreciate a follow there, as well as checking out our all-new website, carconfections.com, where you do have access to a lot of those facts and figures that you guys are requesting. We'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.